Greetings, y'all. Greetings. Today, I would like to put a spotlight on a sister who is doing some powerful work. She's doing it in a kind of unconventional way, but I'm speaking about Rashida Strober. She's a YouTuber. She has a page called Dark Skin TV, right? And so basically, she goes off on some rants. She has like periodic meltdowns talking about her devotion to the dark skin cause. A few times she has like, you know, some more thoughtful conversations with her audience where she would just discuss her insecurities growing up as a dark skinned person in the American society, right? Now, to some people, I'm dark skinned, right? To some lighter skinned people, they would look at me as a dark skinned person, right? And we all dark to our varying degrees. And then there are some people like the Nilotic people of Africa who have a more pronounced melanin complexion, right? And so my thing is, as I grew to learn about spirituality and consciousness, and also about my origins, I got to recognize how beautiful the full scope of the continent is. All the shades, all the complexions, they all complement each other, and they all still paint a portrait of a beautiful people, right? But Rashida Strober, she's had enough, all right? It appears like some people are trying to co-opt the dark skin movement from the sister, and if you watch any of her videos, you would see that she's not having it, all right? But why does her struggle and my struggle exist? Why do we have these type of hang-ups concerning our complexion? How did this become an issue? Trends have to begin somewhere, right? In order for us to repeat a certain pattern of behavior and make it cultural, it has to begin at some point, right? And this all took me back to elementary school, or as we call it, primary school, right? And I remember, I think third grade, around third grade, I think I can remember, we all had a copy of a book called Little Black Sambo, right? For some reason, for some dastardly purpose, Little Black Sambo was required reading in elementary school, right? So Little Black Sambo is the story of a dark-skinned little boy and various situations and circumstances that he's in. But the whole crux of the matter is that he's very dark-skinned, right? And so as children, you know, I was kind of shy, so I never did it. But I noticed the more outspoken people, they were calling each other Little Black Sambo. They call you a black Sambo, a dirty Sambo. All of this. People who have complexions even close to Sambo's complexion in the cartoon were still calling other people Black Sambo because they wanted to detach themselves from this notion. And all of their efforts, they would like for everybody to know that they do not identify with Sambo. And then as I found out about Uncle Tom's Cabin, I found out about the characters Quimbo and Sambo and the fact that they were the actual antagonists in the story. Uncle Tom got all of the flack, and he became the butt of many jokes, and we call people Uncle Toms, but actually Quimbo and Sambo actually were the antagonists in the story. They were like the more conditioned slaves who were willing to do the master's bidding, right? But Rashida Strober's story brought me back to this period, and I remember growing up, the way this thing became entrenched. It happened. It wasn't like we were conditioned. We didn't have a manuscript or a manual for socializing, but this thing happened in a kind of indirect, in a subtle way, right? Because I would see that from those who were older than me, they would call a particular female pretty, if she has the lightest skin, right? The lighter complexion, according to the older people, because this thing had to start somewhere, the older people, they told us that fair skin was light skin, right? Fair, which means good. They tell us that fair skin is what people call light skin, right? They also, even here in the Bahamas, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the Bahamas, we call light skinned people mango skin, right? And we all know that a mango is a particularly sweet fruit, right? So for you to associate a complexion that is not your complexion with mango, all right, that should tell you what type of psychology you are trying to ingrain in yourself, right? So for many people in our country and other third world nations, this notion of having a person with a lighter complexion is what was preached as a goal. Even like for some sisters, the mother was telling them to look for a bright skinned person with curly hair or straight hair. So this thing was fed to us on a social level. It's not like this is the way it should be. Okay, so what I would say to Rashida Strober, if I was ever a part of that, I would definitely apologize to anyone who I may have overlooked because of this culture of, promoting lighter complexions over darker complexions. If I was ever a part of that, I know it's regrettable. But for those of us, all of us in the black community actually experienced marginalization based on our complexion. No matter how light your complexion is, you've been marginalized because there was always somebody a little bit lighter. Let's be honest. Somebody was always a little bit lighter, so you became the dark-skinned person. And this thing began at that point in slavery where, we were not acknowledged for our humanity, and so anything associated with us was deemed negative or filthy. And in some ways,